Hello,
Hi.
Tabatha Fro,
And Britt.
aka
Twist
Braid
done,
Bit.
you know what I'm saying? Feel like somebody
Girl,
now.
looking fresh, Britt. Looking fresh.
Thank
I see
you.
you out here in these streets.
Yeah, it's glowing and flowing.
I see you swinging that hair.
Yeah. Ain't time. How we doing?
We are doing great. We are on part two. Britt, let me just tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I warned Ma about the podcast, she
Uh-huh.
said, "Ooh, let me go and listen to the podcast." She listened to that thing, girl.
Mm-hmm.
She ain't get no
What she,
feedback. She ain't get none.
she didn't give any feedback?
I ain't got nothing to say. I even heard the echo.
Says
Typically,
the woman
Britt,
who sent you what did she send you? Cucumber pictures?
with a stick, a measurement stick, lady.
Whoo!
That's real what y'all out here doing.
That's it. Off screen. Bless it, man. Well, I think she'll like part two a little bit better. Yeah.
I think
Not
she
as
liked part one, but she just really don't want to kind of
yeah.
discuss that. Look,
Understood.
I'm in my 50s, and this woman is still not discussing
Understood. I would say
this.
it be like that. With them parent child relationships, like don't need to know all that.
No, it's too
Mm-mm.
much.
Yes, pineapples.
Okay, so we are going to stick with our verse. It's Matthew 7 and 6. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, you they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces.
Mm.
I got so much to say to that verse. I mean, every time, of course, to me, Britt, every time I read the Bible, you study the Bible, there is another deep dive that you find something that you did not see before. If
Mm-hmm.
you are really intent on, and again, that applies to almost anything. When you're studying
Yeah,
anything, if you've gone the first time, you missed something. Guess what? You come back
sure.
again and you're like, oh man, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
So today we are going to discuss when the Bible says, don't give someone something that is sacred to you because they may turn and tear it to pieces. And then that's going to leave you distraught. It goes
Mm-hmm.
right into what we were talking about our last podcast about having and choosing the right partners. What do you have to say about that?
Um, I think last week I was ending on the note of attachments and how those can tend to form, from people who we decide to become intimate with, and how we attach ourselves when it's really good, when the sex is really good, when they're talking the right things, saying the right things, and especially, when it's just starting off, and it might be something new to us, something different, something that we deem as fresh and we've never experienced before. So just watching it when we're becoming intimate and how those attachments can start to form and sometimes block our view of what's really happening. Or, like in my past, sometimes I might have been, and unapologetically, honey, because again, I love myself and I know myself. I probably was a little hasty or, speedily in how quick I was wanting to get down. But understanding that sometimes that can cause us to miss things and to overlook things and to start to create that blinder that comes over our eyes at times when we're not seeing what's really happening, what's really in front of us, what the person is really doing, what their intentions are. And when we might know what ours are, that we might not know what the other person's is because we're blinded by, we done got down, we done came together, and we done shared a piece of ourselves. So I feel like that when we share that piece of ourselves maybe too soon, it takes the piece of us away that might have been able to indicate better what was going on. So that's my come from as far as again throwing it out there and just not being super careful sometimes or intentional, I
No,
should
they
say, not
called
super
it.
careful.
No, they called
Hmm.
it Britt.
What's that?
I'm old,
Uh
but I
huh.
know they called it digmatized.
Hey, I was trying to avoid it, but yeah, we get a little magic digmatized and then dipped in gold out here, and we just, yeah. Sometimes, man. Whew.
Guilty. I stay
Guilty
guilty
times
hard.
10, honey. Guilty times
But let me
10,
just
yeah.
tell you something. As an old head, what I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you is you can't keep blaming it on the D and being
True,
biased. You have
true.
got to learn some sense. You
Discipline,
cannot
too,
just, yes.
for
Remember
yourself. Yeah.
last podcast, I was talking about, I just thought to myself, and mainly part of it was how I was raised. Like to this day, since my mom was raising me and she was so old school, I still have a problem with wearing halter tops. Girl,
Mm-hmm.
I should have got over that a long time ago. But there are some things that your parents do and say to you that are of value that really stick.
Real.
And one of those things that my dad had told me at a young age, and I have not forgotten it since he told me this.
Mm-hmm.
He said to me, there's always going to be somebody prettier. There's always going to be
Mm-hmm.
somebody smarter. There's always going to be somebody finer. You have to be you. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
add authentically you. So
Yes,
a lot
that's
of times it was so rich and real that it has stayed with me my entire life. I'm to thinking, I don't care who I'm in a room with or whatever is happening. I want to be me. I can be
and you want to be enough.
authentically,
Yeah.
yes, enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to
Yes.
just go out and keep on giving myself to people to show that
Sure.
I'm enough. I'm enough just
Yeah.
the way I am. So when you look
Mm-hmm.
at it in those terms and not trying to capture somebody with something that is fleeting, it is fleeting. You got to
Mm-hmm.
capture them with, do they want me, my
Right.
authentic self?
Well, you know
That
what? I'm
aha
gonna go.
moment.
Yeah, well, yeah, more of it's an aha moment, but also just a transparent moment for me because I'm glad you mentioned your dad, especially when we're teaching our younger folk. I think it's just as important with the conversations we have with young men and we have them with young women. Like we should be having them with both, right? And I had a conversation with my dad probably 2 years ago, and I just let him know everything, how I felt about my upbringing and his and my relationship when it came to the non-discussion of relationships and men and how to approach them, and I told him how it kind of affected me or sent me on a certain path where I wasn't because we didn't have that talk because my dad, very protective, very loving. And his thing was he's one of them dads that's just, boys are the devil. He didn't say that, but that was his come from. He just didn't have that conversation. My mom did, and probably because she was more comfortable with two women. But my dad just wasn't about to have them conversations with me. But the absence of it too sometimes can be not effective because I found as I got older, I realized a lot of my decision making and deciding to
Mm-hmm.
how I was going to get myself and do all this, it was because I didn't have all the tools and teachings that I probably needed, especially from my dad, because that's the first interaction we have as young people with the opposite sexes, with our parents, our mom and our dad. So my dad would have been that first definition of a man and what I understood. So anyway, yeah, the absence of not having that conversation, I learned, that I was giving myself away because I wanted to prove something, to show something. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't because, oh, I want to
Mm-hmm.
feel good and all this other stuff. Now, maybe in my mid-20s, I got a better, uh, capture of who I was and what I wanted. And, I was free with it, owning it. But before that, it was just, what can I prove? It just wasn't for the right purposes. So to your point, having those conversations early on, they can stick with us. And in the absence of them, it's always not the best either.
You are right. I can recall saying to people that I am so glad that I had two older brothers
Mm-hmm.
And having two older brothers allowed me to see the male in its habitat.
Form is the rarest form and its true form in all the forms.
What?
With those two, I bet it was fun.
It was. You already know
And
the two. You,
yeah, I know it was honest and fun. And like, is that happening?
you know them because you claim them as your uncles too, just like Christy
Yeah.
did. Anybody
Yes.
who meets my two brothers, they are instantly Uncle Stanley and Uncle Lo to them.
Yep. For real. Oh, they are
These
so
guys
hilarious.
right here, growing up, it was the real. And I think aside from daddy just, giving me just little snippets and tidbits and all of that kind of stuff and everything,
Mm-hmm.
as I said, seeing these creatures in their natural habitat made me realize how I probably would be viewed by a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I could see my brothers when we were growing up, and granted, by the time I start learning dating and all of this kind of stuff, my brothers were gone because they're older than me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see girls call the house, when you have to get that phone and the phone cord go all, you're probably not familiar with this, but it was the home
I am.
phone and
They go
it was
across
in the
the
kitchen.
room,
Girl, that phone went to the bedroom, it went to the bathroom, it was in lip, it was
wrapped
everywhere. I
around the
said,
living room.
no.
It was. They holding it, and with us doing everything else right there. All right then, neck crooked and everything on that phone.
And me answering the telephone and see, and this is like one of their best girls who I know they probably, well, I ain't know nothing about smashing back then, but I'm pretty sure they probably had done it by then. And
Mm-hmm.
now you don't want to talk to her. Girl calling over and over and over again at the house. I knew from having those two brothers and seeing what they would
Mm-hmm.
do to the one that they held dear to them after certain things
Mm-hmm.
happen. I don't want to be that person.
Sure.
Now, at some point in age, I was a little gangster and I went overboard with it. But
Ain't gonna be me. Show you.
and Britt and
Yeah.
I are presenting it in a laughing matter, but truly, you need to think about these things. And like Britt said, it's not just for women; it's for guys too. Because
Yeah.
I taught my kids to care and have concern for other people, just as I said it to my daughter. I said it to my sons. Treat young
Mm-hmm.
ladies the way you would want your sister to be treated. And then sometimes early on when they start dating, at least two occasions for the boys, I said, I wish I had never told them that because these girls was running over them. It's like
What
you
I was gonna say, yeah, like make sure you're being treated too the way you should be treated and would want to be treated and all that good stuff. Because women can be just as vicious now, like let's not get it twisted. So, like you said, it goes for both men and women. Like make sure you're being treated and not becoming attached unnecessarily and unhealthily, to either or. Because folks can, whoo, if you allow it, they'll take you
Ooh,
to some spaces and places if you're not careful and being vigilant over yourself, you know.
so
So yeah.
it stands true that what we're saying is just like it's just a recap. We're not just talking to women. We know
Mm-hmm.
that digmatized is real.
Mm-hmm. And
And,
pusmatized.
and okay, we know that's real.
Pematized. Sorry, pematized. You put a little things over my mouth. Put the ashes in the fire.
And just be selective in who you choose to give your body, and ultimately, it will be your mind.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you because my Lord.
Yeah, you got to protect.
When you talk about the mind real quick, it is they're so connected in my opinion. Our pearls and our jewels and everything are so connected here because people will stay around too long. You allow people to be around you too long, longer than what they should be, and taking up space and room, where they shouldn't, and I feel like we should have more control over who we allow to stay in and why are they staying here, and not just because of the wang and because the pee is so good. Like, make sure they're taking up space, and this is totally speaking from experience, but taking up space, because they deserve to be there, so that's why it's so important, man. Whew.
Britt,
That's it.
I have said that when people are like, I don't know what to do. I just want somebody good and this, that, and the other. And most
Mm-hmm.
times we can't see the good person because they're being overshadowed by who we are allowing to remain in our life.
Yeah.
Just take your time and be selective. Just want make somebody learn you. First you got to know yourself though.
Mm-hmm. You are. And if you are going to be out here living your life, because I totally believe in, everybody lives their life differently. Everybody doesn't want to be in monogamous relationship. That's fine. But, if you are going to be out here doing your thing, like, just, I say, be intentional about it. Be intentional about what you're doing. Make sure everybody on the same page, and that everybody is in agreement too. That's been a big thing for me in the past, is just wanting to keep folks on the same page now. Okay. We just having fun. We kicking it, and just make sure everybody knows what your intentions are and that you know what theirs are. Because I think that's a big thing.
So
Okay.
now it's time for the what y'all out here doing moment.
Yes.
What you got, Britt?
So the what y'all out here doing moment today is not necessarily a story, but just more, I'll say just advice to kind of, wrap it up, is attachments are real. I'm not an expert, but I am still learning. I am practicing in my spirituality and just understanding how deep spirituality goes. And we do have the power over ourselves and over our beings to move things around in our life and move things out of the way that don't need to be there. So, courting, if you want to figure out ways to detach yourself from somebody, look into things that involve cord cutting, in different meditations and prayer, of course, different things that speak to your psyche, that speak to your mental, that will help you to seriously release those attachments and things that keep us tethered to certain people and individuals that we just know are not, that should not be there.
Good
There
question.
are ways to disconnect, detach. It's not always just blocking them in your phone. It's not always ignoring the calls. It's certain ways spiritually that you can go in deeper into that thing and really work that person on up out of your space. And I do believe if they're not supposed to be there, they won't. But people do have the tendency to try to creep on back in, and whatever, and it's all in what we allow, right? So if you don't take sovereignty over yourself, over your body, over your spirit, and over your life, things will be able to creep back in, and you want to have tools to be able to be like, keep them at bay or whatever. So that's what I would say. So not only are we, I just wanted to offer tools to, because I know there are some people like, well, how do I detach and how do I get rid of this and da 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 da. There are ways. So just explore those ways, and it's there. The information is out there. So that's what I would want to share, is the what y'all out here doing moment, just to get a little deep.
Britt, I love it. Because I have been telling women for, I know it's since I've become like 39, maybe in my 40s, early 40s. I stopped saying a long time ago, a dude did something to me. He didn't do
Mm,
anything to me.
mm,
You touched on the point that I try
yes,
to get. Every woman that I come in contact with that starts venting about it, he did this and he did that, and no, no, no. And dudes too. I tell
yes.
guys this too.
Mm-mm,
They didn't do anything to you. You allowed them to do it because you can simply, as
mm-hmm,
you said, detach yourself. You can remove yourself from that situation. A person can only do
mm-hmm.
what you continue to allow them to do to you. So I love that point
Sure.
that you brought up. I love that. So that is our episode for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with others. We appreciate joining you for our weekly podcast or monthly, however many times we do it. We have no rhyme or reason to it yet. But thank you for being a part of this. Bye.